Big Thief are an American indie rock band who have dropped quite a few albums up until this point, but I've been pretty vocal about how I've not really been the biggest fan of the band. But this year I've kind of been swayed the other end. UFOF, I was positive towards when it dropped, but over time it grew on me even more. The singles from that album were pretty fantastic as well. Orange, Cattails being some of the best songs of the year period, to be honest. Especially Cattails, I love that shit. And then when they announced they were dropping another album, I was pretty shocked. I didn't think they were going to give us something so soon. And especially when it sounds so different. I mean, there are bands out there that do it all the time. You know, King Gizzard, it's essentially their gimmick at this point to drop multiple albums in one year. But a band like Big Thief doing it just seemed kind of random and out there for me. And when I heard the single Not, I was like, yes, this is the sound that I want. This is what they're gonna kill. This is what they're gonna absolutely floor me with. And yeah, they kind of did it, man. They did it. This is by far the best album from them I've heard, and easily one of my favorites of the year, in fact. Adrianne Lenker is a phenomenal vocalist throughout this entire album. I love the way her voice cracks on so many of the tracks. Just gives it so much heart to this album. This album just is oozing with that passion and heart. And yeah, sure, like there are other artists all the time that pour their passion into their music, and that's not to say that, you know, Big Thief are doing it any differently to anyone else, but I just think there's just this homely vibe to the way she sings that just welcomes you in like open arms, and you just can't say no to it. She just has this way of singing that just reminds you of like your grandma or something like that. The grandma you never had, because obviously she's still fairly young and she's not anywhere near the age of a grandma. This voice that's just filled with so much wisdom reminded me of how when I listen to a rapper like Car, who just has that tone of voice that just feels like he's getting you to sit down and you're just sat across from him and you're just being told all these stories about life. And that's the exact same feeling I get from listening to Big Thief as well. And that's not to snub the guitar tones across this album too. The guitar playing is just so on point. Every track just has a lead melody that you cannot shake off. In fact, the first track, Rock and Sing, reminds me of the track from Spiritualized from their Ladies and Gentlemen, We Are Floating in Space album. And it is in fact the title track that I'm thinking of as well. Just that melody just really gets me thinking of that as well. Not in a bad way, it's a very nice melody, but for some reason I just kept thinking of that whenever that track came on. You can tell they're not shaking off their folk roots as well with songs like Two Hands, which is just such a lovely song. There's no other word to use than lovely. It just really is. I love the way her voice as well. It goes into a bit more of like a falsetto on this track too. And yeah, man, she can sing so damn well. Just those little Conor Oberst isms that shine through on some of these tracks as well. Just kind of get you like reminiscing for like your younger days when you were first getting into those indie folk albums from the 2000s. Kind of brings it all back listening to some of these tracks on this album too. Some really interesting moments lyrically as well on the album, like the track Shoulders, where she repeats throughout the track about how the person who's killing her mother is in her veins, kind of getting you thinking about, is she talking about her dad here or a relative that's like doing some harm? Really kind of creepy lyrics that creep in on this album like that just kind of get you thinking what exactly she's referencing here, because I don't know a great deal about her personal life. I'm not entirely sure if they're one of those bands that are open about that kind of thing anyway, so it definitely gets you just sort of thinking about things. Same with the song Cut My Hair as well, where she's talking about the boy in her. Just kind of gets you thinking what exactly she means with this, because she can be quite esoteric and a bit abstract with her lyrics sometimes, unless there is something obvious shining through that I'm just not quite paying attention to. I don't know. And one thing I like as well, even though some of the tracks do have like slow patience testing builds, they're not really like completely dark in their tone. So like these songs are a bit darker lyrically, still have this kind of like hopefulness in the instrumental and stuff like that, especially the track Forgotten Eyes. It just feels such like an uplifting, triumphant moment, even though when you read into the lyrics there are some dark undertones to it as well. How she proclaims as well on this track that everyone needs a home and deserves protection just kind of gives you a little warm fuzzy feeling the way she says it. To me, this is such a huge glow up for Big Thief. I was never getting these feelings and emotions whenever I was listening to their previous work from like 2017, or even there were some weaker spots on the album from earlier this year too. And yeah, everything about this album just feels so compact. Everything just seems like they've finally gotten to a point where they've figured out their sound and their style. Everything feels completely in its right place. They've certainly just stepped things up musically, especially because lyrically Adrian hasn't changed. She's always been this strong, but when you have this type of music backing it as well, it just kind of makes everything way more impactful and it just resonates so much more. So yeah, as you can tell, I think this is friggin' great. It's absolutely my favourite of theirs so far, as I've already mentioned. So much to unpack lyrically that I probably haven't quite uncovered yet, but as time goes on, it'll become more clear. Fantastic performances all around from this band. Do not give this one a miss, man. It's definitely a highlight for the year for me. I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10. Really loving this. Hopefully you're liking it as much as I am too. And hopefully you get something out of it if you have listened to it. Let me know what you think. If you think it's as good as I do, if you think it's worse, if you're, somewhere in the middle, let me know. Let me know. Apologies for the lighting as well. It's looking a bit dull around here, but it is a bit late in the UK at the moment, and it's getting a little darker earlier, so that's kind of unavoidable, but I'll try and sort it out. Thank you for watching the review. Have a good day. Goodbye.